Hello and welcome. I'm Ijoma Onyato. Tonight, INEC excludes All Progressives Congress from the list of political parties contesting National Assembly elections in Rivers State, even as electoral umpire releases list of presidential candidates and their running mates for the 2019 elections. Federal High Court extends restraining order against the continuation of trial of the Chief Justice of Nigeria to January 28th as the Code of Conduct Bureau formally serves court summons on Justice Walter Onoge. Federal government signs $1.1 billion contract with Brazilian government to enhance mechanized agriculture in the country. And France launches contingency plan to prepare for a no-deal Brexit.
On business news tonight, Central Bank unveils national policy to expand financial inclusion in Nigeria's financial system.
Sports news tonight, Nigeria's Super Falcons lose their opening game against China in a four-nation invitational tournament.
And from Abuja, National Assembly holds valedictory session for late former President Shehu Shagari.
The All Progressives Congress in Rivers State will not be represented in the National Assembly elections in the state, which will hold next month. And this is because the party and the names of its candidates are missing from the updated list of the Rivers State Independent National Electoral Commission, which is made exclusively available to Channels Television. Now, according to the resident electoral commissioner in the state, Obo Efanga, INEC has insisted on obeying court judgments. Our correspondent Emmanuel Ere reports.
Security during elections in Rivers State has always been a burning issue. And this time, the heads of all security agencies in the state are leaving nothing to chance as they meet with the state's Independent National Electoral Commission in Port Harcourt, Rivers State. And after about 2 hours, the Commission and the Commissioner of Police in the state explain why the issue of security is being taken seriously.
As we get towards the election, we have to meet more regularly. And as you observed, all the heads of the security agencies are here. It shows how important we take this election to be. And we are planning all that we need to do to ensure that everyone who wants to participate in the election is secured.
The forthcoming elections is really very dear to all of us, and coupled with our own desire to not only make it free, fair and successful, but to secure all persons involved in the elections and the citizens of Rivers State.
But there is another burning question. Who and who are standing for the election in the state, especially against the backdrop of the recent judgment by Justice Kolawole Omotosho, nullifying the direct and indirect primaries of the APC and all actions thereof.
We'll release the document and it will be displayed for people to see who the candidates are. Like I keep saying, INEC is bound to do what it ought to do according to the law. And judgments of the court are also part of the law of the land. And so we'll obey every court judgment.
And from the list, exclusively obtained by Channels Television, the party APC and its candidates are conspicuously missing. When contacted on the matter, one of the councils to a faction of the APC in the state promised to get back, but is yet to do so as at the time of this report. But a council to another faction of the party explains his position on the situation.
It is in tandem with the judgment of the Federal High Court, which indeed is a rendition of the judgment of the High Court of Rivers State. Until the Court of Appeal decides who the candidates are based on the two appeals now pending at the Court of Appeal, APC has no candidates for the general election in Rivers State.
Well, the issue of timing cannot be overemphasized as the clock continues to tick towards the elections. But the facts appear to be dawning on many as to who is running and who is not in the elections in Rivers State, as we see some committed to going all the way, legally on the matter. Emmanuel Irei, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, the River State Governor, Nyesom Wike, has asked candidates of the APC to rest their case because, according to him, things have fallen apart. The governor was addressing a crowd of PDP supporters in Eleme in River State following the party's state campaigns for the elections. He also accused the opposition in the state of instigating the travails of the Chief Justice of Nigeria.
Then the election. See, my thinking unopposed, don't be so. Now so. First list don't come out. Fight you go unopposed, don't be so. Now so. This one unopposed, don't be so. Now so. I'm gonna go tell our son and go far. Make him go back, go night and go still. Make him go hold out to where you hold. They don't publish list of people going to say, you don't know. They don't see them. That's so. You don't know them. You know them. You know them. You don't know them. You know them. You know them. I'm going to make you go back to another and a bed. Make him hold out to where you hold. Because you want to go crumble. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What you don't do it. You don't crumble. This man, why won't put Jerusalem down now? Well, I'm going to call him. I don't know anybody in there. But I don't say now through the judiciary, when no contest election, the same the governor. No, now so the same judiciary when they put that now judiciary make a governor. Not be so. Not so. Not be so. Not so. So not gonna know his antecedents. Not gonna know his antecedents. He must put every institution down, and we must be careful. We must be careful. We must be careful. Enemy people, if I support Atiku, which I know sir I will support, me and Atiku go sit down. That's all. If you no agree, you must agree. Talk and do.
And speaking of that list, the Independent National Electoral Commission has released the full list of candidates for the Presidential and National Assembly elections. The electoral umpire published the names on its website today, 29 days to the general elections. The list, signed by INEC Secretary Mrs. Rose Oriro Anthony, featured over 100 presidential and vice candidates. The parties whose presidential candidates are listed include the All Progressives Congress, which has President Muhammadu Buhari as presidential candidate, and the Vice President Yemi Osinbajo as his running mate. The People's Democratic Party, with the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar as presidential candidate and Mr. Peter Obi as his running mate. Others are the presidential candidates of the Allied Congress Party of Nigeria, Dr. Obi Ezekwesili and her running mate, Oseni Galadima. The presidential candidates of the Young Progressives Party, Dr. Kingsley Mohalo and his running mate, Getso Abdullahi, and the presidential candidates of the Allied for New Nigeria, that's the Alliance for New Nigeria, Olufemi Durotoye and his running mate, Iya Abdullahi. The presidential candidates of the Social Democratic Party and his running mate were not included in the list, as according to INEC, the party is yet to submit the candidate's name. Now let's get another perspective on this matter, talking about the list and what's going on in River State. And joining me live from Abuja is a former member of the House of Representatives and a legal practitioner, Westi Dahosa. Thanks a lot for joining us on the News at 10.
Thank you very much.
Okay, now just looking at INEC's list today, I mean, it appears to confirm that no APC candidates will be presented in terms of the National Assembly elections next month. And INEC is saying that they are just obeying court orders. How do you see it?
Well, it's the point of law, and don't forget that the law that entitles INEC to conduct elections also enjoins INEC to obey the laws. So if you look at Section 87 of the electoral law, it's very clear that the courts can decide on whether primaries have complied with the electoral law, and if they haven't, the court can also nullify them. And INEC is obliged to obey court orders. The only thing that the court cannot do is that it cannot restrain an election from taking place, and it cannot stop primaries from taking place. But it can determine a dispute. It has done so on this occasion, and unless the Court of Appeal reverses the decision of the Federal High Court, I'm afraid that the APC will not be able to present candidates for these elective offices in the 2019 elections.
Yeah, well, and the way we see it, time is running out as February is just around the corner. But as it stands, has the APC completely lost out there, or is there a way things can be corrected before the polls?
They have nearly lost out. It will depend on the Court of Appeal. And don't forget that the procedure for litigation, even though it is time-bound, because now they say 60 days to complete the appeal, both sides must be given a fair hearing, and both sides may exhaust their opportunities. And in the process, it may become a matter that is statute barred. So there is danger looming, definitely, for the All Progressive Congress.
Yeah, well, this crisis came to a head. I mean, it's been on, but we began to hear more about it after the controversial congresses, the primaries, and then they now landed in court. So now that we're here, what lessons should politicians who are still in the race take away from the Rivers experience now?
The lesson is that they should follow the law. The law is very clear. The law sets down clearly how primaries should be conducted. Their constitution also does the same thing. So the question is, why not comply? What is so difficult? Why do you want to manipulate? Why do you want to impose people outside the regular due process? So it's time to obey the law and avoid this type of embarrassment.
Okay, well, there's relative peace now in the other states where there were crises after the APC's primaries. But do you think this kind of stalemate could play out on the national level if members are unhappy with the results in February? Because that's still ahead of us, no matter how they emerged.
Well, the scenario will change because at that level it will become an inter-party contest, one party versus the other. And of course, the arena will then change to become the tribunals set up for post-election matters. A few pre-election matters will still be on, but the larger focus will be on who won the election, who didn't win it, was there compliance with the electoral law. That would be a different ball game entirely.
All right, former member of the House of Representatives and legal practitioner, Westy Dahosa, thanks a lot for joining us on the news at 10 tonight. Now let's take a look at some legal matters. A federal high court sitting in Abuja has extended the restraining order against the continuation of the trial of the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Walter Onoge, to January the 28th. The court, presided over by Justice Nkuonye Maha, gave the order after the counsel representing the respondents informed the court that his client had not been served. Justice Maha therefore ordered a fresh service of the court summons to the respondents and asked that the date of service be included in the proof of service before the next hearing. Before adjourning the matter, the judge ruled that the order for parties to maintain status quo remains in force. The order includes, among other things, that the trial of Justice Onoge, scheduled to continue on January the 22nd at the Code of Conduct Tribunal, may have to be suspended pending further directives from the court. The CJN is standing trial at the Code of Conduct Tribunal for alleged non-declaration of assets. Meanwhile, the CCT has formally served court summons on Justice Walter Onoge as directed by the Code of Conduct Tribunal. Now, the lead counsel to the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Mr. Wole Olanikpekun, had challenged the jurisdiction of the court and the failure of the Bureau to serve the summons directly on the CJN as required by law. The tribunal chairman, Danladi Umar, however, adjourned the matter till January the 22nd for the prosecution to properly serve the head of Nigeria's judiciary. Both the Federal High Court in Abuja and the National Industrial Court have given orders to halt the proceedings and restrain the police from arresting the CJN, pending the hearing and determination of a suit filed by two non-governmental organizations. In part two, after the break, PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar arrives in the US after several years of staying away from the country. That's in a moment. Do join us again.